Why should you build an email list? There's a few things as a creator that you can do in order to protect yourself. One of the main issues with being a creator online is, especially if you're only creating on a single platform. So let's say you're a creator on TikTok and you build up a giant following on TikTok. That's how you're making money. Everything's going great. And then all of a sudden, TikTok decides they don't want you on the platform anymore. So they ban you. You're gone. And you've lost your audience. Sure, you could probably go to another platform and build that up. Typically if you've built up an audience once, you've gotten pretty good at it and you could probably do it again. But you still lose that connection with all those people who cared about the stuff that you were creating. And so by building up an email list, you get to own your audience. You own that connection. And so if you're getting people to sign up for your email list on TikTok, that is a great way to protect yourself against the case where TikTok decides they don't want you on the platform anymore. But there is a bit of an issue there too, because not everybody wants to deal with owning an email list. And so what ends up happening is that either you get all these emails and then you don't know what to do with them because you don't necessarily want to write a newsletter. You don't have anything that kind of automatically sends your content to them, but at least you have that information. So if something were to happen, you could at least send out an email blast to everybody on your list and say, hey, this is where I'm doing my content now, and you can find me over here. And so that's really great. And one of the problems though is you do end up not converting every single fan on TikTok into an email subscriber. But that's actually okay, because this acts as a filtering mechanism too. Ideally, what you want to do is, you have a big audience somewhere that kind of cares about what you have to say. Maybe they've seen one or maybe a few videos, but you haven't become that must-see content yet. So you've got kind of that wide reach. But then if you have that email list, you narrow it in and say, okay, of all those people who kind of care, maybe there are some who care a bit more and they really want to make sure that they get everything I create. And so that's really where you start to build up the stronger relationship with your audience. And this is a great way to do this with an email list, because it also gives you this ability to have a one-on-one conversation with anybody in your audience at that point, or at least anybody in kind of that smaller circle of people who really care about what you have to say. But again, there is an issue in the fact that there's so much noise on social media, and there's so much noise in our email inboxes that we're constantly being distracted and overwhelmed by so much content that it's really hard to kind of build up these relationships with creators. And that's something that I found both as a creator and as a consumer of content. I find a bunch of creators I like on some given topic, and I subscribe to all their email lists, and then all of a sudden I'm getting bombarded with emails, and then my email box gets overwhelmed, and I end up seeing none of it because it's just overwhelming and I ignore it all completely. It's tough because you're competing with all these different newsletters, and especially if you're a content creator on a platform like TikTok, you're not really writing, right? So writing a newsletter is actually a much different skill set than creating videos on TikTok. And being able to kind of build up these email newsletters it's a skill in and of itself. And I've played around enough with the different platforms, MailChimp, ConvertKit, Substack. So what can you do? I think there's a few different ways to go about it. One of them I'm actually building. It's a platform called Feather CRM. And the idea is you really just decouple your relationships from the platform you're creating on. Right now it's really focused on Twitter. That's my platform of choice. So sorry about that. But I actually think Twitter has a very interesting use case here because of the fact that it's really easy to share content created elsewhere on Twitter. Except Twitter doesn't do a great job at surfacing that content. So if you have external links in your tweets, Twitter doesn't typically share those as widely. But one thing I think you can use Twitter for is kind of an easy way to feed content to subscribers, except you can't do that by just using Twitter. And that's really where Feather comes in. So what you can do is you can let people subscribe to your Twitter feed and then post whatever you want them to see, because the idea behind Feather is that you really get only the tweets of people you care about. The idea is not to have subscriptions to 10,000 different people. The idea is that you have subscriptions to a very few that you really, really care about. And I think what this is going to do, based on what I've seen so far with my own usage and then a few early users, is that you're not going to have nearly as many subscribers on Feather as you would on like an email list, but the ones you do have are going to be much, much more valuable because they're going to be invested in what you have to say. They're going to be focused on just you, so that's the benefit of a Feather feed. You just get the tweets from the person you're interested in, and you can make that as extensive as possible or not. It doesn't matter how much you tweet, it doesn't matter what you share, but if you're creating something and you share it to Twitter, then you'll be able to then let people subscribe to that, and then hopefully if it's something they like, they will share it as well. And I think this is really going to lead to a bunch of people have these subscriber lists of like 10 to 100 people that will actually be the equivalent of 1,000 to 10,000 newsletter subscribers, because it's all about getting kind of the raw content. And you just say, yeah, I don't care if you can write a newsletter that attracts me. I don't care if you have a lead magnet that will get you to sign up for my email list so that I can send you all this stuff and try to sell you stuff. No, what this does is it just says, here's my content because you care about me enough to want to see it all, and here it is. So if that sounds interesting, come check us out, feathercrm.io. I'm really excited with where it's going. We're getting ready to kind of do a bit more of a marketing launch coming up February 1st. So can't wait to see you on the platform. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'm happy to answer questions, walk you through it. Everything's in the description below. Can't wait to see you over there.